Good evening and welcome to The Conversation. I'm your host, Robin Vernon. There's an old saying that dogs are a man's best friend, but the way some people treat their dogs and other pets leaves one to wonder if they value this friendship. It is a far too common sight to see emaciated dogs in the streets, dead animals on the highways, abandoned kittens and puppies. For decades, each municipality has struggled with stray animals, animal neglect, roadkill, and in modern time, we have been shocked to witness the abuse of horses that transport tourists. People abuse animals for a variety of reasons and with varying levels of harm. Some acts of animal cruelty are the result of ignorance about humane and proper care of animals or impulsive stemming from unmanaged emotions. Animal cruelty may also be very deliberate, believe it or not. Joining us this evening to speak about responsible pet owners and animal care, two guests who are passionate about this topic. Deandra Peralta is the president of the Belize City Animal Aid, a humane society that is run by volunteers and the only humane society in Belize District. They strive to educate about proper pet ownership and about rescue and rehabilitation of stray animals while also working towards reducing the unwanted pet population. Welcome, Deandra.
Thank you.
Eden Estefan is a Belizean animal welfare volunteer, activist, educator, and founder of Community Cats of Belize, Grassroots, TNR, which seeks to humanely manage community cat populations in Belize through the established and proven strategy of trap, neuter, and return, also known as TNR for short. Welcome, Eden.
Thank you very much.
Now, to get us started, please tell us, how did you become animal lovers and activists? You can each answer.
I guess I'll start. So I've always been an animal lover. Growing up in Belize, I grew up on a wildlife sanctuary. So I had a great appreciation for animals in that way. And I also had pets growing up. So it started young, but it wasn't really until because I was living abroad, that I returned to Belize, that my passion for animal welfare really blossomed. So, just through, coming back and realizing how many animals were suffering in the streets, that's really what motivated me to get, to take action.
Okay. And you?
For me, I really didn't start in animal welfare till I was 20. But I've always had a passion for animals. I always remember when I was little, I saw a cat that was really sick. And I remember I was like 8 years old and I wanted to take it home. And at the time, my mother, who at the time didn't know any better, but now she does, right? She said, you can't take that home. It looks sick. And that stuck with me for so long. And that when I was 20 and I moved out of my house for the first time, the first thing I did 1 month later was I fostered. And I foster failed. And then I continued to foster, and every animal that I have adopted has been a foster fail. And that's how I eventually got into all of this.
Okay. So, if I could just ask out of curiosity, based on the amount of time that you two have been in this, have you noticed a difference in our situation?
You want to answer first?
I want to say yes, to an extent, but in some ways not where we would have hoped it would be. And I mean that, we have seen more people care for animals. And I could see that with my own family. Like I said, when I was growing up, our dogs were just outside. You fed them, you give them a bath. That was really it. I don't remember us playing with the dogs or anything that much till we got older, and you learn more. And then from there, my parents learned from us to love their animals more. And I've seen that same trend develop over time, and especially with kids. They show a love for animals and their parents nurture that, and they in turn love animals more. So I do see that getting better, but there are still some aspects.
There's still room to grow, right?
That need to be, need to grow in.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the Belize City Animal Aid? How did it start? And what services does the organization provide?
Okay, well, we were formerly known as the Belize City Humane Society.
Okay.
So we rebranded and we came back really, and we were the Belize City Animal Aid. It was same like same structure essentially, same type of, same drive, same goals. And they have, the Humane Society was around since 1993, the first one. It came back in 2014, was around for a few years again, and then it fell, and then it came back again as Belize City Animal Aid. Reason for that is it's super hard to find people who want to do this because you don't get paid. You have to work your regular job, and then this is a secondary job that
And
is
even
hard.
at that, it's voluntary work.
Yeah, and it's voluntary work, and I have to do something every day, and every day I have to make that effort to actually want to do it. So you don't always have people,
Yeah.
and that's the biggest issue, to be on a board. People do want to volunteer sometimes, but they don't want to do that work. The paperwork, sometimes not even the rescuing and all of those things that entail
There's
with that.
more than just dealing
Yes.
directly with the animals.
Exactly.
Is the mantra of the entire thing. But it stands to reason, though, that a significant chunk of your team are people who are just as passionate as you two
Yeah.
about all the work that you do. Because I know a few of you, and it looks like very demanding work. I mean, it's a very highly rewarding work for what it does. These are actual lives being saved. These are lives changing. But like you said, you're not being paid. You're not anything. You have to want to do it. You have to want to help.
Yes.
And wow, yeah, that's pretty big. But I do hope that you get. Maybe there's no such thing as too many hands, but I do hope that you get as much hands as
I
you
would
would
love
need.
to have more.
I could imagine.
I mean, who does the other work? Like, there's only 4 or 5 people on our board. That's it. And not every board member would work to that extent. They have other responsibilities that they would do,
Yeah.
whether it be handling the books. But there's really only 3 of us, of the 5 that are every event, planning, doing the marketing, whatever it is. And it's a lot of work.
Okay. Okay. And from the beginning, with what got you two into this, I know that in your own ways you said that your intention was to reduce the population, the population that's emaciated. What do you mean, though? Like, when you say reduce it, like what are your goals? What are your intents to reduce it?
So what you're going to hear over and over and over again from anyone working in animal welfare, they're going to say 3 words, spay and neuter, over and over and over again. Because, I've also served on the board of a humane society as well in Belmopan, and having had that experience and having also done my own independent work, I can see that what ends up happening, not only in animal welfare, but across many other societal issues in Belize and the world, is that the few take on the responsibility of the many, right? And then it becomes an impossible task. It's like trying to bail a ship with a teaspoon, right? It's still taking on water. So the idea between reducing the population is to encourage pet owners to be responsible and spay and neuter their animals before they breed, right? My program is a TNR program, a trap, neuter, return program, and it primarily is geared towards animals that don't have an owner at this moment,
Okay.
right? But when we're talking about reducing, we're not talking about inhumane euthanasia or anything like that. We're talking about population management, family planning, if you want, for animals, essentially.
That's you're talking to someone who has had to do that in the past with my own pets, my own companions, and I saw it necessary. Like, I've spoken to people before who have given me their opinions on the subject. They would tell me things like, do you think that that's fair? Or, like, do you think that the animal deserves that because every animal deserves to be able to reproduce or all that? And, like, I get it. I honestly do.
Then they get ready.
But the thing is, I think it's all circumstantial, because I adopted 2 of my cats. And the second one that I adopted, I made sure that I got her spayed, because cats, like, they genuinely, innately, like, desire to be outside, and that's fine. I don't mind. I have a yard. My cat can run around and everything. But I have other cats in the area that, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want any accidental pregnancies or anything like that, because I, as a pet owner, for my companions, I know that I cannot support having those babies, and I don't want to go through having to raise them and then trying to get them out there and then worrying about all of that. So I thought it best to spay her. She lives a good life. She's happy. At least I think she is. I'd like to think that she is, right? But she's good. And my thing is, I understand completely why people feel that way, why they would oppose to certain things, but it boils down to what's necessary in a given situation. That's as fair an answer as I feel that I, as a pet owner who makes the decisions that you guys make, that's what I feel is fair to answer with that. And Eden, can you please tell us more about your organization and what was the catalyst for the establishment of Community Cats?
Okay. Yeah, so Community Cats of Belize started as my response to what I was seeing around me. Literally, I moved to a new neighborhood, and I didn't realize it at the time, but there was a colony of about 35 intact cats, so not spayed and neutered, on that street. And at the time, I had no pets, and I was, working a job, and I was coming home every day after work, and I would literally see ahead of me in the road a little kitten laying in the street. And I was like, oh, that's strange. So then I would get out of my vehicle, and I would pick this little kitten up, and I'd be like, oh, you're sick. This is not good. I'm like, I don't know where your mom is, but I'm just going to put you to the side of the road in the bush, and I'm sure the mom will come, and it'll be all fine. A couple more days of that, and I started to realize, oh, this is not a problem that's just going to magically evaporate because I'm trying my best to ignore it. It's not that I didn't have compassion for that animal. It's just I wasn't really sure what to do. Now I'm an experienced rescuer and animal welfare worker, but at the time I really wasn't. So essentially, I did start picking up some sick kittens and caring for them. And then as I lived in that location longer, I started to do a little head count, and I was like, oh no, I'm going to be buried in sick kittens, within 6 months. I'm going to run out of room to even put them anywhere.
Wow.
So that's when I started researching, like many people do, going onto Google and YouTube, and that's how I found out about TNR. I had never heard about TNR as a strategy to manage populations of cats humanely. And essentially, I reached out to my local Humane Society, the Belmopan Humane Society. I had some mentorship from them, and I essentially just kind of, decided that I was going to make the effort to raise the funds that I would need to get these 35 cats taken to the vet and spayed and neutered. And I kind of had to figure it out as I went. So that was in early 2019.
Okay.
And honestly, I was being very selfish at the time. I just didn't want to see animals suffering on my street because I couldn't handle it, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to come home and be like, oh no, another dying animal that I have to of course it hurts me to see them that way, right? And so once I had, we had volunteers, and we had a big clinic for my first TNR, and, we managed to get the cats to the clinic, and once they were spayed and neutered and returned, I started to really see firsthand the difference that it made. Not only were there no more sick kittens around, there was a reduction in yowling from, cats being in heat and the toms fighting for territory. The cats started to look healthier. They started to put on some weight. There was less contagious diseases, respiratory infections happening in the colony. And the person who was feeding them, because remember, where there's a cat population, there's always someone feeding them.
Of course.
There's always a food source, which is why I say if you feed them, you fix them. But that being said, the person who was caring for those cats to the best of her capacity at the time, I saw the difference it made to her. And it wasn't just about animal welfare, but it was also about the psychological welfare of that person.
So it really improved the overall atmosphere.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
It was pleasant to come home and see the cats chilling out, under the tree in the shade, and not have that constant anxiety of like, oh my gosh, like when are the other kittens coming?
Definitely.
So
And
that's the impetus.
for your organization, is it primarily cats? Like, is that the only animal that you care for?
Well, I'm a pretty dedicated animal welfare volunteer. So people, say, oh, you only like cat. And I'm like, well, I do really like cats, that's true. But I actually started as a horse and large dog person growing up.
Okay.
It was my husband who had a cat when I met him that taught me the ways of the cat.
Okay.
But I do volunteer work. I'll work with dogs as well. But you'll notice when you talk to a lot of people in animal welfare, Belize is culturally a dog country, more so than a cat culture.
I'm slowly
right.
noticing.
So there's more people likely to have a dog than to have cats as pets, and even more so an indoor cat. So I recognize that we've got plenty of supply, but there's no demand.
Yeah.
Right. So we can never rescue our way. Like there's not enough homes for all the cats or dogs.
True. Right.
So that's why I decided to dedicate myself specifically to cats. Plus, I can fit like 8 cats in my truck.
Okay,
so it's a little easier to be efficient for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I understand. So it's like you're primarily them because, in essence, they're the ones more in need of foster care and homes and.
Yeah, and also TNR works for dogs too. If you have the capacity to do it at that scale, you just need specialized equipment. But cats also breed voraciously. They're not the same as dogs, and dogs will have a set heat cycle twice a year, maybe every 6 months or so.
True.
Correct me if I'm wrong on any dog
stuff.
stuff.
I've actually seen the amount of work that you ladies do with dogs.
Yeah, but once a cat is sexually mature, the females can go into heat as young as 4 months old.
Wow.
Which is why I always tell people, if you have a kitten, even if it's a cute little fluffy little thing, and you just got it, start planning from now to get that cat in to see a vet, or to contact your local Humane Society.
You got to get preemptive. Because
once she goes into heat at 4 months, she will continue to go into heat almost every 2 weeks until she's pregnant.
Wow.
And then, one female cat can have 3 to 4 litters a year easily.
Wow.
And then if you imagine that those kittens become sexually mature at approximately 4 to 6 months, you can start with 1 cat, and you can build yourself a nice pyramid with dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of cats.
True.
Right.
And Deandra, my same question goes to you. I know that I've seen pictures of the many dogs and cats that you and your organization have cared for, have helped. Is it only cats and dogs, or?
It's mostly cats and dogs. There has been the occasional horse that we have helped.
Really?
I really mean when I say the occasional horse. I could count on my hand.
That's still awesome, though.
How many horses we did last year, okay? Like how much horses we did assist with. In some of the cases, the only thing that could have been done with a horse is to put down the horse. And the only way to put down the horse is, it's bad to say, for your viewers, but they have to shoot the horse. Because using euthanasia for a horse, according to the vets, is just, you're going to use a lot to take down a horse.
Big animal.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we have helped 3 horses last year, and one of them, along with a police officer who was very dedicated to the horse, she took this horse in, we got the horse checked for her, and then she found the horse a good home. So we do occasionally help with the horse. It just has to be, everything needs to line up properly. There needs to be a foster who could take in this horse. And
definitely not a dog or a cat.
It's so much harder than a dog or a cat. We need to find a trailer that could take in the horse. There's just so much more that goes into taking care of a horse.
Yeah.
But it's mainly dogs and cats and the occasional horse.
That's pretty cool, though. It's sad about what you said. Most times it ends up being that they have to be put down, but it's just, I never knew that. I only saw cats, dogs, and stuff. So it's amazing to know that you're dealing with such large-scaled animals. Yeah,
it is. Some things we don't share mostly because not everybody always wants to hear the sad stuff.
Of course.
And when you talk about euthanasia or putting down an animal, there's sometimes a lot of backlash. But we do share it sometimes. Other times it's not pleasant to describe what happened in the end.
Yeah. And if I could ask you, what are some of the most common problems you see with animal abuse and neglect in Belize?
One of the most common problems, a lot of people tend to not realize how much they need to feed an animal. I know it might sound silly, and with everyone having access to a phone and internet, that you would think they would know, but that's actually one of the most common things. That they don't know that your adult dog who's over 25 pounds needs to eat more than 1 cup of dog chow a day. They don't know that. They think that 1 cup is fine. Sometimes it's that, and I think that's the biggest thing, either them not knowing or them choosing not to, or just simply don't have the means to provide for the animal. And I feel like that is the biggest form of neglect, and it's the one that is most commonly done.
Okay, as a pet owner now, I feel inclined to actually ask this because you touched my subject where I'm gonna watch it for like a minute now with my dogs. I have a Ridgeback and I have a Shepherd mix. The Shepherd mix smaller than the Ridgeback. The Ridgeback is fine. He eat to normal. But the Shepherd mix, he actually knows when he's had enough, right? Like I've tried feeding him the quantity that I would feed like my other dog so he don't get jealous or anything, right? So I put it there, but then like he knows when he's had enough. And it's not because he doesn't enjoy the food, because he loves the food, but he basically knows when he's had his fill. Should I respect that? Because like I know we use like over 25 pounds and he is over 25 pounds, but he stops when he knows he's done.
Well,
despite
your
his
dog should eat
behavior.
more. I mean, like every dog bag of food requires a different amount depending on the amount of protein that's in the food.
Okay.
Right? So a lot of people don't know this. You need to watch how much protein is in your dog food. That's very important.
Okay.
And also the bag tells you how much your dog should be eating. So my dog, he weighs about 75 pounds. He eats 4 cups of food every day.
Okay.
My other dog, she's maybe 15 pounds. She eats 1 cup every day. So, and that's like right there behind the bag. So like and that's why I can say some people, I don't know how they don't realize.
I don't read labels.
It's right there.
I'm slowly realizing I don't read labels.
I think reading labels is important. Let's start there. Read the labels of the bag of dog food and cat food.
True. I just get schooled by national television. But I had it coming. Okay. Color me educated. And now, there are so many examples of cases where owners tie up their dogs in their yards and leave them there in the rain, in the sun, sometimes without food or water, which I'm pretty sure everyone has seen at least once around, right? What can a concerned citizen do if they witness this type of blatant abuse of animals? I'll let you both answer that because it would be nice to get both of your opinions.
Want to go first?
Sure. So I actually just responded to a call that came into the Belmopan Humane Society yesterday about 2 dogs chained in a yard that someone had actually called the police about. And the lady who called the police said that the police said they would come, but I don't believe that the police did come. We are struggling, the humane societies and other animal welfare activists are working to get the police to engage because there are laws on the books that do regulate animal welfare.
So
right?
there are laws that protect
there are animal
companions.
cruelty laws that currently exist right now, but if you ask the average cop on the street, they would look at you like you just lost your mind. Maybe they've never even seen it before. But they are on the books, they're just not enforced. So what we would usually tell people is to call the police, make a report. If you are witnessing something, to try and, assuming that you are not in immediate physical danger yourself, to try and record and gather evidence of that abuse.
So that you could prove the abuse.
Video, all that stuff, photographs. And then obviously, try to contact your local humane society as well, because like myself as a volunteer, I will go and try and dialogue with the owner because sometimes, I like to think that everyone has the capacity for, to be better and to learn. So we have to go out there, and a lot of what we do is education, right? And community, liaising with people, and being like, okay, maybe if your dog is knocking the water over here, maybe you can put the bowl over here, right? And it's a lot of negotiating. But it is really difficult to get the police to take action on behalf of animal welfare in this country, unfortunately.
I think I remember you were, well, not so much on YouTube, but I remember I was speaking to one of your members about it, and she was explaining exactly that, the police cruelty to the animals, especially during certain instances where maybe they would have to raid a location or something like that. And I do believe that there's actually a video circulating on Facebook right now about a woman in Saint Bite, I believe, that just had to deal with a raid. And during that time, I heard her say on the video that they shot her dog. Right? So I distinctly remember last year that one of you were speaking to me about that.
Yeah.
So to hear you say that now, it's just like, well, I mean, of course, it's not like it's a lot of time, but clearly that hasn't changed, you know. So maybe through this and through other areas of advocacy, we could begin to start to see that change, or I would hope. And when it comes to providing the animal care, what are the biggest challenges that you face with that?
Money.
A little louder for people in the
Money.
back.
Approximately, we like to give a ratio of how much it costs us to take a dog off of the street, care for it, give it medical care, vaccines, and spay and neuter. Per dog, it's approximately, let's say, $700 per dog to give it everything it needs. And we're talking about like yearly vaccines, NexGard, flea and tick treatments. All these dogs we take off the street look like they're like, you know, that we had to scrape them off of the road. And that's how much it really takes to get a dog to look really good and ready for adoption. And then for a cat, I would say like maybe a little bit less, so like 500. That's how much it could really be, depending on what, like how you got the animal. But that's the number we like to use, because you know, that's how it is. Sometimes it's more. Like if we took a dog that had a broken leg and he needs surgery, surgery is $400. So immediately, you're so much higher.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, it's money.
As with all
we need more
things,
money.
right? As with all areas of relief efforts,
Yes.
it always boils down to
I mean, I could come up with a really long list of challenges. Money is definitely one of them.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I would actually say that we don't have enough practicing veterinarians in this country. And I know, again, it comes back to a supply and demand situation. Like, for example, I wouldn't be able to do what I do if I didn't have the vet that I work with,
Yeah.
right? And, you know, if more people start engaging in animal welfare and being educated about it, then, and more people, you know, as we keep preaching spay and neuter, the demand for vets goes higher. But even in Belize City, I know Belize City is very challenged because it's really hard to get an appointment even, you know, to get your animal spayed and neutered.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself can become a roadblock. So everything is interconnected, you know, volunteers, foster homes, people spaying and neutering their own pets, and money, of course, is a big thing.
So it's just like a culmination.
It's just,
I-
it's very challenging.
I would also say something that is also really challenging is the lack of help we get from the police and government entities. Essentially, it is the responsibility, for example, horses, is the responsibility of the city council. That is in our legislation, that is their responsibility to check that all the horses are taken care of. They're supposed to have them registered. And a lot of people don't know this, but that is the city council's responsibility. And there has been times that we have gotten calls from people saying, hey, I called city council and they told me to call you guys. And we're like,
So it's like these organizations who it is their responsibility communicate as if though they have no idea that it's it's them who's responsible to assist with these things.
and like, how is that? Like, is there not proper training? Do you guys not read what you're supposed to be responsible for?
Yeah.
It's baffling to me that in the end they would say, oh, contact your Humane Society. But I'm like, hey, dude, it's your responsibility.
Wow. I hope you continue to reiterate that every time for keep them on their toes.
All the time. I call them back and I'm like, hey, I got a call from someone. And they said that you sent them over here. And they're like, oh, no, we're just saying, you know, maybe you guys could help out. I'm like, no, horses are for you.
Yeah.
It is their jurisdiction.
Yeah.
With that, viewers, we will take a short break and return to this very interesting conversation. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the conversation. I'm Robin Vernon. Tonight, we're discussing responsible pet ownership and animal care. We have been speaking about animal abuse, but we know there are many animal lovers who treat their pets like family members. So, tell us about what it means to be a responsible pet owner if possible. And when the thrill of getting a new pet wears off, owners still need to care for their pets. I feel like that's, for some reason that thought actually crossed my head earlier today, but I don't know why. Maybe it's the constant nagging of my partner to buy her a golden retriever. I don't know. I don't know. But I do know that it's been like a thing for like where people, like I've seen it before on many occasions where like people would give it like in Christmas or something, you know what I mean, like as a gift, but then you don't give companions as surprise gifts. You know, it's like a kid, it's like a baby. You plan for it. You're supposed to have an entire plan to nurture, to care. If they get sick, you should be able to take them to the vet. You gotta feed them. It's an entire responsibility. It's not a toy. It's not anything like that. And I've noticed that there were quite many times where I saw people be ecstatic about getting their pets and they're through the roof and everything. And then after a few months, it's just, they're on the back burner. They're in the yard. They have a yard. They should be happy with that. But the interactions, the livelihood, the entire commodity just drops. And can you two share some thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, first off, we never let anyone adopt an animal for a present. It's, we always get people interested around Christmas time, sometimes around Valentine's Day, and the answer is, we always ask, like, what makes you interested in adopting? And if the answer is, I want to give this gift to let's say my child, we go into a different educational thing instead of trying to let them adopt now, from letting them understand that a child cannot take care of a dog. What's the plans for later on? And it goes so much more into it there than we would normally do any other time of the year, because we already know that it's not a present. And normally they're no longer interested in adopting afterwards. Or we recommend, like, if you want to adopt just for yourselves as the parents, you need to keep certain things in mind, that a puppy won't always be a puppy. We ask them, do you have other animals? If they do have other animals, we want to see pictures. We want to see that they're not tied up. We don't want to see. You want to
see the living conditions.
Yeah, we want to see how they are. We want to see if they have videos, like if they're being loved. Like we take even more special interest in those cases, because we know, and we have taken in animals that people loved one time and then threw them out on the streets.
Heartbreaking, isn't it?
It is. My own cat was a cat like that. And I love her, and I can't believe anyone ever threw her out because they didn't want to love her anymore, because she wasn't a kitten. So we see it, and we always try to educate people more, because that's part of the biggest thing that we do, is we have to educate people.
Yeah, definitely. I see, I've seen examples before where people actually wanted to adopt, but people were very specific about the type of breed that they wanted to adopt.
Yeah.
I
want to order an animal.
Yeah, like I want your thoughts on that for two reasons. Number one, because partially I get why. I get why partially. Because a companion is with you for life, you know? And for some people, their lives, the circumstances of their lives dictate the kind of companion I feel they would want, or in some cases need. Like, there's nothing, I'm not saying that no, you should primarily adopt because of that. But do people who want to adopt a specific breed, do you feel that it's understandable, or are you against it? I just want your honest opinion.
Oh, I'm totally against that, because I feel like all animals, similar to people, are mixed. You understand? So, like, we're all mixed. None of us, even the dogs that are breeds, a lot of them are mixed somewhere along the line. Yeah. And just because you are mixed doesn't mean that you should be any less loved.
Oh, well, definitely not mixed, no. But I was talking more along the lines of size. Then is what I was getting at. Like, let's say
size.
for like both companionship and security.
Oh, well, you see, no, that's funny. Because at my house, I have a small dog and a big dog. They both live inside.
Okay.
So that's not very common in Belize, that everyone has, like, big dog and small dog both live inside. A lot of people have their big dog outside.
Outside, yeah.
And I'm not saying everyone needs to have their dog inside, because you could have your dog outside and you could love your dog.
Definitely, yeah.
Right? But for size-wise, I understand why someone would want a small dog. They could live in an apartment. They could, they're not like me. They don't have their big blooded dog inside of the house. So for that, I'm okay with that.
75 pounds in your house?
Yeah, he's beautiful.
Dog's cat, they're small.
Have that too. So for size-wise, that makes sense to me. I get that, because everyone has different living conditions. But when it comes to, when you say breed, I'm thinking when someone, because it does happen, messages us and say, hey, do you guys have any Chihuahuas? Hey, do you guys have any German Shepherds?
That was honestly my mistake. Yeah, I don't feel like I specified the question.
Yeah, so
like,
on
correctly,
size, yeah, that's cool, because everybody has different living conditions. Everybody has different, what they could afford to, because a big dog takes more money than a small dog.
But despite that, you still make sure that you do your due diligence. You still make sure that
Definitely.
the environment is conducive to the animal and everything, right?
Oh, it has to be. We do house checks, because, some people are uncomfortable with that. But I always try to assure them, hey, we've invested so much in this animal.
Yeah.
We got to make sure where he's going is going to be okay. It has nothing to do with you. It's just like, we're nothing against you. We just want to make sure he's going to be okay. We love them. We've done everything for them. We need to make sure where they're going is somewhere we could go to bed and sleep at night knowing that they're okay.
Because these weren't just patients for you. These are lives that you helped.
Yeah.
These are entire,
They're
like
my
you
extended
all
children.
develop connections to these. And Eden, with you, like, what would you say to potential adopters who would come and they're like, do you have a calico? Or do you have,
Okay, so
or size too, really.
I do some rescue, and I do place animals in foster, and I have assisted humane societies to place cats. Generally speaking, I have noticed a trend where if a cat has blue eyes, I get a million.
Or if it's white.
Or if it's white.
Or gray. Like
Generally, the
special
blue eyes
colors.
thing. But
Automatically, right?
that being said, when it comes to either cats or dogs, I think that the first thing that I would tell someone who wants to be a pet owner is, don't buy. Don't buy, because breeders here are not, there's no oversight, right? A lot of Siamese cats that are here in the country, if you can find a Siamese, almost all of them are inbred, and they all get dental absorptive disease. They have all kinds of problems. I've helped so many people with Siamese cats, and they still get dumped when people are tired of them. So I would say when you're looking to add to your family, as you said, really reflect on how it is that you value an animal. And try not to project your own fantasies about yourself.
True.
Right? Because everyone's like, I'm going to get a horse. Oh, and it's going to be a black horse, and it's going to have long flowing mane. And I'm going to get this black saddle and this gear and this, and I'm going to wear a black blazer and a cowboy hat and Zorro my way through the town. Okay? That's a horse. But the same goes for a dog. That's why a lot of people, they get a husky, right? But then they're not really doing their research, right? If we didn't have the overpopulation problem that we have here, and if breeding was managed responsibly and breeders had to be licensed, then I would say, yeah, I would prefer if you adopt, right? But if you must buy from a breeder, at least make sure that that person is regulated. Again, we'll both be like, don't buy, right? What you learn from adopting an animal, and honestly, in Belize is the easiest thing to find an animal. Just go out in the street.
Just pick one up.
Just take a walk out your door. That's how I got my dog. That's how I got all my cats, right? So, just remember not to project your own, make sure you're having clarity about why you're making the decisions that you are. They're not throw pillows, right? The white Persian cat, might look good to you, but another cat would be equally as loving
and
and
at the
deserving.
same time, it's not just a phase. That animal is going to be with you
Right,
for life. Or if you don't want it for life,
it's essentially an
you're
arranged
risking
marriage.
putting it back out.
You are committing, because cats can live a long, long life. Dogs live a long life, and the personality is much more critical, in my opinion, than the size or the breed or anything.
Exactly.
Honestly,
Yeah.
the personality of the animal, and people think, oh, dog, that dog, and cat, that cat. That's totally not true, because I have lots of pets, and they're all unique individuals.
27 years of my life, primarily dog, with the occasional snake. Yeah,
good, a snake owner.
Yeah. I like how it feels. No, but yeah, I did.
Hard pass.
However, recently got a cat. Like I adopted my first cat. And then that was amazing. I was exposed to a new aspect of life with this kind of companion, and my partner hated it in the beginning because she never liked the idea of my cat sleeping in bed with me and all of that, because like she has sensitive nostrils. So I get it. But I ignored that and then slowly exposed her to it. And now she has cozied up to it with our second one. And it's amazing. Now, I said before, like, I'm primarily dogs, right? So I have 2 dogs. And as I got her as a kitten. And I slowly started to expose her to the dogs, to let the dogs learn her, let her learn the dogs. Now I can be places like here or at work during the day, and she's in the yard, and when I go home, she's sleeping with the dogs or they're playing around and all that. I just patiently wait for the day I go home, and then I sit tree and then they hang out their tongue because they're happy to see me. And then I will know then that I no longer have a cat. I just have a third small dog, I guess. But it's a big responsibility. Yeah. They aren't just something nice to have. They breathe, they sleep, they cry, they bark, they meow and joy. They are lives is the main moral of this entire episode is that. So if you're interested, like the lady said, think about it. Really think about it. Think about it in terms of if you can financially, and also think about it if you can just through commitment, and then go from there, right? And now back to your organizations. Approximately how many animals do you provide services for on a monthly basis?
That's super hard to say. I mean, we do have animals in our shelter, or small shelter we have, and in foster care, but we also are helping some owners to get their animals spayed. We're also picking up sick dogs off of the street that we have to euthanize. And for me to even, or that got hit by a car, I can't even tell you an exact number of sometimes how much the animals we have to pick up, or how many we pick up and immediately gets adopted.
Yeah.
I think, let's just say we do like anything from 20 to 50 animals a month.
Wow.
And
that's consistent.
Yeah, that gets help or something every month.
Wow. Sometimes
it's something small that somebody, hey, can you help me spay my cat? Sometimes it could be something bigger, like a dog got hit or a cat got hit, and the responsibility is on us to pick it up and to humanely euthanize it. And that happens a lot, like maybe this month or last month, actually. Not actually this month, because it's March. We did like 2 cats and maybe 6 dogs we had to euthanize, just getting hit by a vehicle. And so every month is a little bit different, but we do primarily like 20 to 50 animals a month.
And I've also noticed an increase in runaways, like escaped animals, escaped pets. Like I'm in a chat that they usually circulated like runaways in the area, possible runaways in the area, or I would see it circulating on Facebook, and I'm asking myself, like, do these people check? Like, do they check to make sure that the animals... I mean, I'm not saying like it's ultimately their fault or anything like that, but I did notice an increase in that. And I'm assuming that that's part of your monthlies too, right?
Yeah.
Dealing with runaways and...
What a lot of
pets.
people don't know is that sometimes if you're seeing a small dog on the street, doesn't mean that it got out of the yard. Sometimes they were stolen. And that's why there's an increase. Because dogs, especially small dogs, are being stolen and trying to be sold. So if somebody ever comes up to you and knocks on your door, or because it's happened mostly like in places like Ladyville and the other villages, they would steal a dog from in the city, or like Belmopan City. They would go to a smaller town and they would walk around and say, hey, do you want this dog? I'm going to sell you this dog. And if they can't sell the dog, they just put the dog on the street. That's what they do. They just put it on the street, or the dog gets away. And we've had cases like that. We've had to help people to try to find their dogs within our network. Or I've had a couple cases. I picked up a dog.
They ended up finding them in totally different districts?
Completely different area. A woman lost her dog in the city, and the dog was found in Ladyville.
Wow.
A girl lost her dog Southside, and I picked up her dog at the police station in Belama. And it was her dog. And there was no, like when she came to get the dog, I knew that was her dog. And it happens because with crime and poverty being where it is, people are trying to do whatever they can.
To make a dime.
And
Yeah.
so that's why there's an increase. You might think it's because these dogs are running away, but it's something somebody's trying to steal them, or
Yeah.
they have been stolen and then let go.
Wow. And you, Eden, like, how many animals monthly?
Well, it's a little challenging to give a monthly, but I can say that since the start of my program, at the beginning of 2019, I've spayed and neutered about 280 cats. And when we're saying when you're saying organization, like this is it. It's me,
That's all you.
right? And you know, occasionally I'll have people come out and help me trap, but every single one of those cats has been trapped by me, has spent the night in my garage, and I've driven them back and forth, etc. So I would say like it probably averages out to be about, you know, 10, but it really depends. You know, sometimes I'll trap, you know, up to 20 cats a month, and sometimes, you know, because it's like this with the money.
Yeah.
If I have funding to trap, my butt's out there trapping. As soon as the money slows down, I have to slow down and start trying to,
Of course.
you know, raise the funds to do what I do. But when I think about what I'm doing, I'm preventing hundreds of other cats from becoming the responsibility of the local Humane Society.
Yeah.
Right? Because that was actually what was happening. We were having lots of cats, like in the market in Belmopan, breeding continuously, and people would be like, Humane Society, hello, you know, which is the right thing to do, but it just means that that's the source, the wellspring.
Yeah. So both of you in turn help each other. With,
Yeah,
with your
totally.
different works.
Very complementary activities. And the Humane Societies, you know, mine in Belmopan, you know, I know that they've expressed to me like, oh, thank goodness that you're doing this, because
That's good.
they've seen a reduction in the number of calls.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, it's come up a few times, so let's get down to it, right? Funding, the money, right? How do you, in your respective organizations, how do you raise the funds that you need to do what it is you do for these companions? And two, how can people who are willing to help through donations or volunteer work, how can they be a part of that? So that's a two-parter.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, so for us right now, we literally just have to hold events. We don't get a significant amount of big donations that will help. There are some people who donate either by case, that is very helpful, or every now and then. But it doesn't really put that much of a dent. Everything else comes from us fundraising.
Okay.
Before COVID, things were a little bit easier with fundraising, but since COVID, things have gotten so much harder. And to be quite frank, and I did mention to my some of my Humane Society members that I would probably mention it, that like if we don't make what we need to make for the month, it comes out of our pockets. And that's just how it is. Like we didn't make what we needed to make for March. So now we have to put everything towards it, because we know how much we need every month to survive. Because like I said, we have animals that we have to pay for. We have bills all the time. So that's what we have to do. So when someone wants to assist, and if you could just give sometimes just a little bit, that's helpful. If you said, you know, I can't give money, but maybe I could buy you a bag of litter or something like that. That's very helpful. We have so many cats right now. Or you could donate a bag of dog food. It doesn't always have to be money. And then volunteer your time. You could come sign up and be like, I want to come over to the little shelter you have. And they come and they bathe the dogs. They pick up the garbage. That's things we don't have to do. And that's super helpful. And sometimes we don't have enough volunteers to come every weekend. And when that happens, it comes to, again, some people like myself and Gina have to go there and do all the work by ourselves.
Yeah.
In terms of funding for my program, I have run GoFundMes. It's very challenging for any organization, NGO in Belize, anybody to receive outside funding.
Yeah.
That's something that I wish we could figure out something with our government to make smaller NGOs, like put less roadblocks in terms of receiving outside funding.
That's true, because I was aware in the past of many foreign bodies, foreign entities that wanted to contribute, that wanted to donate, but due to like wiring
Right.
fees and all that, it becomes
Yeah,
difficult.
there's so many roadblocks.
Yeah.
I do have a way where people can donate to me from abroad through PayPal. I do also have an account for local deposits. And some people, like even just today, someone sent me a message like, I put a little donation in your account. And that's powerful to me. Sometimes when I'm helping someone with a colony of cats and they're like, I don't have a lot, but they give me $5, that is amazing to me, right?
Yeah.
So the small cash donations, some organization or some corporations and businesses are willing to, sponsor, more officially. But I've taken to selling dog tags. I've taken to selling cat leashes, like really grassroots trying to fund. What the long-term thing would be that would be helpful to people working in animal welfare would be if the government would assign a budget to support what they
doing.
have on the law, like on the books,
Yeah.
right? Because honestly, that will only happen if the people, the Belizean public start advocating with their local, politicians and whatnot. When they come around and they want to give you a chicken or a turkey, be like, listen, what are you doing for animal welfare?
I could take out 55-pound
Maybe we can donate that turkey to the Humane
if you would be so
Society.
kind.
I know people,
Umpteen
obviously.
sacks of kitty litter
Well-
would also be great.
Well, we have been talking to governments with the UDP and the PUP at some point, and they have never came through. We've wasted the time talking to them.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know if other humane societies feel that way, but I feel like I'm tired of wasting my time. That's time I could have dedicated to
Figuring out
making
an
money
alternative, yeah.
to give to my animals. And we've literally been at a point multiple times where they're like, oh, come in a meeting. And at one point we were at the place that all they needed to do was sign. That they would have allocated some funds to us towards spaying and neutering, towards clinics, and they just never did it. And that's like one of the most difficult things, because it's the most important thing to get things done is to get your local government to help, to get the assistance of police, and they don't do it.
Yeah.
And I think they're just happy with us doing all this work for free.
They're in a sweet spot.
Yeah, they're happy.
in the perfect spot because all of us are willing to work for free, right? Because
Doing their
we're
job.
passionate, right? But again, it's that change is only going to really come when the people, the
Demand.
community members,
True.
they express their desire. And the funny thing is that a lot of people, the general public, seems to think that it's their taxpayer money that's funding the humane societies or an organization such as myself. So sometimes they'll even get upset at you if you're like, I'm so sorry, but we literally have no budget for this. So if a dog has a broken leg and we have to make the difficult decision, for example, or if the cat has a broken leg, that the only thing we can afford is humane euthanasia, but that person is like, save the animal, right?
Yeah.
We're like, we don't have that $1,000 laying around. And they get mad because they're like, well, you're not spending my taxpayer money correctly. And we're like, we don't have taxpayer money. So that's something that I think should be, people should know that we're not on some government bankroll.
It's a misconception that should
It is
be
a complete,
addressed.
and that's the thing is like people think Humane Society, they're thinking ASPCA up in the States or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should
Totally
also
not
know that
the
this
case.
isn't our day job. So when I don't answer your message right away, it's not because, I don't want to and I'm ignoring you. It's because I'm literally working and I can't take the time off to do it right now.
Yeah.
And some people don't know that. They think that this is our job and that we're not doing our job, going to pick up this dog now.
Yeah. Ladies, I know that I'm pretty sure that both of your organizations have pages, public pages that people can get in contact with you with, and I'm pretty sure as well that you have numbers that you can be reached by, should in case we have people that would be interested in donating or in volunteering. What I'm going to do is, after this episode, we are going to ensure that on the post, we will post your contact information for the places, right? It doesn't have to be your person if you're not comfortable with that, but we can put it on there so that anyone who's interested in assisting can be able to get through to you. With everything, and I find myself saying this a lot more recently, with everything that we talked about, I know for a fact that it's just surface level. We haven't really touched even like in depth on the things that we would want with a subject like this. The thing is, a lot of people may feel like it's not as important, but it is, because these are lives. These are lives. Whether people care about the fact that it isn't a human being or not is not the case. These are lives. Deandra, Eden, this was enlightening. It goes without saying, and delightful. I salute you both for the work that you're doing, the tremendous investment of time and money that you two put into this venture. It's great. I just want to say, on behalf of me and on behalf of all lovers of companions out there, to keep it up. And we want to thank you so much for being a part of tonight's conversation. Really, this was great. This is something that we wanted to do from last year.
And now you know feed your dog.
I know how to feed the dog. We'll pause for a final break and be right back. Welcome back to the final segment of the conversation for tonight. Pets play a valuable role in the lives of Belizeans. Pets, especially dogs and cats, can reduce stress, anxiety, and depression. They can ease loneliness, encourage exercise, and playfulness. I know, because mine's the all. Caring for an animal can help children grow up more secure and active. Pets also provide valuable companionship for older adults. Perhaps most importantly, though, a pet can add real joy and unconditional love to your life. Your pet, therefore, deserves to be treated right. Even if you don't have a pet, we encourage you to be kind to animals. Report animal abuse and support organizations like the Belize City Animal Aid and Community Cats that are providing valuable services to the communities that they serve. With that, our time is up for tonight. Remember to join us on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. for new episodes of The Conversation right here on CBTV and on Colorblind's Facebook page. Good night and take care. And take care of your pets.